There's a book written in the year 1097 that perfectly describes the 2008 financial crisis, the cryptocurrency collapse, the inflation crisis destroying your savings right now. The author? A Muslim scholar you've never heard of. And he didn't just predict these disasters, he explained exactly why they keep happening and why we refuse to learn. This is The Fund Historian, where we uncover the money secrets they don't teach you in school. His name was Hamid Al-Ghazali, and while medieval Europe was burning witches and living in mud, he was writing economic philosophy so advanced that modern economists are still catching up. Here's what makes this story dangerous. Al-Ghazali understood something about money that banks, governments, and billionaires desperately don't want you to understand. He saw through the illusion. And once you see what he saw, you can never look at the economy the same way again. Let me take you back to the Islamic Golden Age. It's the 11th century. While London has maybe 20,000 people living in wooden shacks, Baghdad has over 1 million. Public hospitals, universities, sewage systems, street lighting, public libraries filled with hundreds of thousands of books, in a time when most European kings couldn't even read. The Islamic world controls the global economy, the trade routes, the banking systems, the currency standards. They've got paper money before China, double-entry bookkeeping, checks, bills of exchange, business partnerships, venture capital, all the tools of modern finance. They're experiencing something the world had never seen before, a sustained economic boom spanning centuries. And right in the middle of this explosion of wealth, Al-Ghazali is watching something disturbing happen. He sees merchants becoming richer than princes. He sees speculation driving prices into insanity. He sees ordinary people crushed by debt while the wealthy accumulate gold faster than they can count it. He sees rulers debasing currency to pay for wars. He sees trust evaporating from markets. Sound familiar? In 1095, Al-Ghazali does something shocking. He's at the peak of his career, one of the most prestigious professors in the Islamic world, living comfortably in the intellectual capital of civilization. And he walks away from all of it. He has what we'd now call a breakdown, or maybe an awakening. He can't eat, can't speak, can't teach, because he realizes the entire system, the wealth, the prestige, the academic debates, it's all built on a foundation that's crumbling. He disappears for over a decade, travels, thinks, writes, studies human nature, studies markets, studies what actually makes societies work or collapse. And when he comes back, he writes The Revival of the Religious Sciences, a massive work that's part philosophy, part psychology, part economics, part spiritual guide. Buried in this text are economic insights that are so precise, so devastating, that if people actually understood them, the entire financial system would have to change. Let me show you what he discovered. First principle, money is not wealth, it's a mirror. This sounds simple, but think about what it means. A mirror has no value by itself. Its value comes from what it reflects. Money is exactly the same. Al-Ghazali wrote, "Gold and silver are created to reflect the value of all things like a mirror that has no color, yet shows all colors." This single insight destroys half of modern financial theory. Because if money is just a mirror, then hoarding money doesn't make you wealthy. It makes you someone hiding mirrors in a basement while the world outside falls apart. Hoarded money doesn't create wealth, it freezes it. It's like removing blood from circulation and expecting the body to get healthier. In his time, wealthy merchants would accumulate massive stockpiles of gold and silver, removing it from circulation, creating artificial scarcity. Prices would spike. People couldn't afford basic goods. Trade would stagnate. Al-Ghazali called this killing money. He wrote, "Whoever hoards dinars and dirhams, gold and silver coins, is hoarding that which, if it appeared, would settle people's needs." Fast forward to today. We call it wealth inequality at historic levels. We call it liquidity crisis. We call it why 3 guys own more than half the country. Same disease, different name. Second principle, all profit must come from contribution. Here's where Al-Ghazali gets dangerous to modern capitalism. He argued that there are only legitimate ways to earn money, and speculation isn't one of them. To him, profit was only justified if you added value. If you produced something, transported something, improved something, taught something, built something. But if you made money purely by manipulating prices, creating artificial scarcity, or exploiting someone else's desperation, that's not profit, that's theft. He specifically condemned what he called forestalling, buying up grain before it reached the market, storing it and then selling it at inflated prices during shortages. Sound familiar? We call it private equity buying up housing now. He wrote, "Whoever profits from the suffering of others profits from corruption. And corruption spreads like fire through dry grass." Let's be very clear about what he's saying. Financial speculation, making money purely from moving money around, is not just economically destructive, it's parasitic. It extracts value from the system without creating any. In 2008, banks bet against the very mortgages they were selling to families. They made billions as millions lost their homes. Al-Ghazali would call that exactly what it is: institutionalized theft. Third principle, trust is the foundation. When it breaks, everything breaks. This is Al-Ghazali's most powerful insight, and it explains every financial crisis in history. He understood that markets don't run on supply and demand. They run on trust. Trust that the money you receive will be accepted tomorrow. Trust that the person selling you something isn't lying about quality. Trust that the contract you sign will be honored. Trust that the coin you're paid with hasn't been debased. Remove that trust, and even the richest economy collapses overnight. He wrote extensively about honest trade, about how lying about a product's quality, using false weights, concealing defects, or manipulating information destroys the market from within. He said something profound. A society can survive poverty, but it cannot survive corruption, because poverty affects the body, but corruption destroys the soul of civilization. Think about what that means for us right now. We don't trust the media. We don't trust politicians. We don't trust banks, and why would we after 2008? We don't trust the official inflation numbers. We don't trust that the stock market reflects reality. We don't trust that our currency will hold its value. Every major institution that's supposed to maintain trust has been caught lying repeatedly. According to Al-Ghazali, we're not heading toward collapse, we're already in it. Fourth principle. When rulers manipulate currency, the empire dies. Medieval rulers did exactly what modern governments do. When they needed money, they debased the currency. They'd take a gold coin, melt it down, mix in cheaper metals, stamp it with the same face value, and flood the market. Instant money for the government. But Al-Ghazali saw this as the beginning of the end, because once people realize their coins are being watered down, they stop trusting the currency entirely. They start hoarding old coins. They start using foreign money. They start bartering. The monetary system collapses. He called currency debasement the theft of the future, because it steals value from people who can't fight back. The poor receive weaker coins and have no choice but to accept them. The wealthy see it coming and protect themselves. Does any of this sound even slightly familiar? The US dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. The money in your pocket is worth less every single year. They call it monetary policy. Al-Ghazali called it state-sponsored theft. He warned that empires that manipulate currency don't collapse because of outside enemies. They collapse because their own people stop believing in the system. Fifth principle. Individual greed becomes systemic collapse. Here's Al-Ghazali's most chilling observation. Economic collapse doesn't start with war or famine. It starts with thousands of small, rational, selfish decisions. A merchant cheats on weights just a little. A ruler takes a bit more tax than needed. A trader manipulates a price just this once. A banker hides risk in a complex financial product. Each individual decision seems small, almost insignificant. But they accumulate, they normalize. They spread. He wrote, "When the king is corrupt, the minister becomes corrupt. When the minister is corrupt, the merchant becomes corrupt. When the merchant is corrupt, the customer becomes corrupt. And when everyone is corrupt, the civilization has already ended. They just haven't noticed yet." This is how 2008 happened. Not because of one villain, but because of a million small decisions by people who thought, everyone else is doing it. If I don't, I'll lose out. The system rewards this behavior. Loan officers lying on mortgage applications, ratings agencies stamping A on garbage securities, bankers packaging toxic debt and selling it as safe investments, regulators looking the other way, politicians taking money from the banks they're supposed to regulate. No single person crashed the economy. The system crashed itself because the incentives were poisoned. Now here's what makes Al-Ghazali absolutely terrifying to study. He's not describing the past. He's describing right now. Every warning he issued is playing out in real time. Hoarding? The top 1% in the US control more wealth than the entire middle class combined. Billionaires added $2.7 trillion to their wealth during a pandemic that destroyed millions of small businesses. Speculation? The housing market is unaffordable because investment firms are buying up homes as financial assets. Healthcare costs are determined by private equity firms optimizing profits, not patient outcomes. Currency manipulation. Central banks printed more money in 2 years than in the previous century combined. Your savings lose value every day while they tell you inflation is transitory. Trust collapse? Institutions that are supposed to protect us are the ones we trust least. Bank failures. Crypto scams. Government debt so high it's mathematically impossible to pay back. Corruption normalized. Insider trading is legal for Congress. Regulatory capture is standard practice. Corporations write the laws that regulate them. Al-Ghazali saw this pattern play out in the Islamic world. The Abbasid Caliphate was the richest, most advanced civilization on earth, until the wealth concentration, corruption, and currency manipulation broke the system from within. They didn't fall to the Mongols because they were weak. They fell because they'd already hollowed themselves out. The invasion just exposed what was already dead. The West is following the exact same path, and we're much further along than most people realize. Here's what Al-Ghazali understood that we're desperate to ignore. Collapse doesn't require violence or revolution. It just requires enough people making short-term selfish decisions until the entire system loses coherence. You don't need a war. You don't need hyperinflation or breadlines, not at first. You just need trust to erode slowly, day by day, until one morning people wake up and realize the money isn't real, the promises aren't real, the institutions aren't real, and nobody knows what to do because everyone forgot that civilization is a choice we make together, not something that runs automatically. Al-Ghazali's solution? It wasn't complex economic policy. It was brutally simple. Align the incentives. Reward contribution. Punish extraction. Maintain currency integrity. Build institutions people can trust. Make corruption costly instead of profitable. But here's the problem. The people who benefit most from the current system are the ones with the power to change it. And they won't. Because they're making rational short-term decisions just like everyone Al-Ghazali warned about. So what do you do with this information? You understand that what's happening isn't new. It's not an accident. It's not temporary. It's the predictable result of incentives that reward the wrong behaviors. Al-Ghazali gave us the map 900 years ago. We just refuse to read it. If you want to understand where this goes, study what happened to every empire that ignored these warnings. And if this perspective changed how you see the economy, subscribe, because there are more buried truths where this came from. History doesn't repeat, but the patterns never change. And the people who see the patterns are the ones who survive what comes next.